Hey, everybody. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist. When you have a husband who is depressed, it actually doesn't have to be a husband. It could be a boyfriend, a romantic partner, a friend who is a guy. But for the purposes of this video, I'll just really focus on as if that guy was your husband. All right. If you have a husband who you feel like is really depressed and you're worried, I want to share a few tips about some things that you can do to try to offer support and help. Because the truth is, if he's really depressed, he needs it. And it would be good for him if you can figure out how to be there for him, but in a really good, supportive, meaningful way. And also to not do anything that might make it worse. Sometimes when we care about somebody, some of the ways that we try to go out of our way and show our love or try to protect somebody that we love, it's actually not helpful in the end. You may be able to think yourself of any number of experiences you had in the past where you tried to say something helpful to someone you cared about or do something helpful, and they ended up getting quite upset or they felt like you didn't do it in a caring or loving way. So, we're going to talk about that today just briefly. Here is the first thing that you can do if you feel like you have a husband who's depressed. First of all, just make sure that you're talking about not just a bad day or two, but you're noticing a pattern that he has been depressed, that he is not himself for a little while now. Okay. Now, a major depressive episode technically needs to be present for 2 weeks or longer, but don't wait 2 weeks if you feel like you notice some real depression in your husband. If you feel like it's lasted for several days, you can be worried enough and you can talk to him about it. So notice that it's a pattern. Notice that it's not just a 1 day thing. The next thing to do is to talk to him about it. But this is why I want to offer some advice around this issue when you talk to him. It's really easy to end up asking questions where the other person can feel like actually you're interrogating them. What? Are you a detective? No. You want to make sure when you're asking any questions about what's going on with him or how he's feeling, you want to make sure that your rate of speech, how quickly or slowly you're talking, is on the slower side. Watch as I'm talking right now. I'm slowing my rate of speech. This is kind of like what you want to do when you're talking to him about it. The reason is because just coming right out of the gate, too quick, too fast on such a sensitive topic can feel like too much sometimes for a person, especially when they're really struggling. In addition, use the softer edge of your voice. So I can use a harder edge of my voice. I can talk like this, or I can try to use a softer edge of my voice, try to make an effort to sound warmer and more caring. And that is really what you want to do. Now, I'm not suggesting that when you talk to your husband about how he's feeling, that you turn him into a 3 or 4 year old. Are you okay, honey? Right? Because you don't want to seem patronizing in any way. This individual already feels vulnerable and not like himself. So be respectful, treat him like an adult, but just slow your rate of speech down. Use the softer edge of your voice, okay? And then next, you don't want to drill 7, 10 questions and conduct an actual mental health exam with him because odds are you're not a licensed mental health therapist. So, some examples would be to say things like this to him: Hey, can I check in with you for a minute, honey? You, to me, don't really just seem like yourself the last few days. And I just wanted to mention that. I'm here in case you wanted to talk at all. Now, when you bring this issue up, this doesn't have to be the conversation in italics when you deal with it. Think about bringing it up with him as simply planting a seed. This is the first conversation that you may have today, okay? Drop it, leave it there in the air, see if he is responsive and talks to you about it. Maybe he'll say something, maybe he won't. And then maybe a little later in the day, you come back and you say, "Hey, I just wanted to ask you again. I hope it was okay that I brought that up earlier about how you were feeling. You know, I was wondering if there's anything in particular that might be making you feel kind of depressed, and you can talk to me. I promise I can handle whatever you have to say." So, this is a way that you can try to start this conversation. One of the things that you can do when you have this conversation, and remember, it doesn't need to be, and maybe even shouldn't be, a 30-minute, 60-minute conversation, because that may make him feel too stressed out. It might make him feel too uncomfortable. Okay. So you want to try to make sure that you make a few points, ask a few questions, and let him know that you are there for him, that you are there to support him. Okay. One of the things that you can do is you can ask him this. You can always talk to me, but can I ask you, if there were somebody else in your life, if you had to like choose one person, that you might be willing to talk to about what's going on with you, I was just wondering, who might that be? Who in your life is the person that you go to besides me and, might actually confide in what's really going on with you? Try to get a sense if there is one other person, just them having social support from one other friend or family member can make a huge difference, make them feel less isolated. And you can say, "Hey, just my 2 cents, if it's okay, you might want to reach out to them." All right. Now, another thing that you can do is you can ask them if they might find it helpful to go talk to someone, talk to a mental health professional. Maybe if you guys are involved with the church or a spiritual organization, you could ask if they might be willing to talk with someone at the organization there. But the key is to get them connected, to try to get them to open up a little bit and actually let a couple of people know that they are suffering. All right. Now, I just want to bring up a really important point. If someone is depressed on the most severe end of the depression spectrum, they may be having thoughts about ending their life. If that's the truth, they may not share that with you the first time that you bring it up. So think about this as a series of conversations. Maybe on the first day that you bring this up, later in the day, you ask them and you say, "Hey, can I ask you a question? And, I hope it's okay that I ask, but I'm asking just because I care and love you this much. When you feel depressed, can you tell me what the worst depressive thoughts you've had are? Like when it gets really bad, what are some of the worst thoughts?" And then maybe they'll say something. And then you can say, "I do know that sometimes people feel like they don't even want to be around anymore. And if that's the case, you can tell me. Is that something that you have kind of dealt with, or is that not really something that you've kind of dealt with?" You can ask this question in this very flexible, fluid, caring way so that you have an understanding. Now, it doesn't mean that they will necessarily tell you the 100% truth. If this individual is really depressed, they are really suffering and they may feel really uncomfortable to tell the truth. So the key is, what you hope that they do is get connected to a mental health professional or even a medical professional where they can disclose to them that they are really suffering, because professionals like this, they are trained in knowing what the best next steps are to provide support. You can say something like, "Hey, when was the last time you went to your doctor? Would you be willing to go to your doctor and just share this?" Or maybe even just call the doctor's office and set up an appointment. You could offer, "If you want, you may not want this, but if you did want, I'd be more than happy to go with you. I'm here." And the way that you're talking about this, it can be not like you're terrified and you're scared for your life. It can be caring. It can be open. It can be that you want connection with him, but also with a little dose of hope, that you feel like there, yes, is a little glimmer in your eye when you talk to him about it. And you can say, "We'll figure it out. We can figure it out together." All right. I hope this has been helpful. There are resources. I will also post a resource in the description for this video. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist.